Hi, this is John Byrne with Poets and Quants. Welcome to another edition of Friday with Sandy Kreisberg in
Hi,
Boston.
everybody.
And we have Adam with us. And Adam is a really unique candidate with a 750 jumbo GMAT, really nice, 3.6 GPA from UT-Austin McCombs with a degree in finance. He has, let's see, add them all up, 3.5 years as a finance associate for a private equity-backed oil and gas company. He has 1.5 years in iBanking in oil and gas, and he now works in corporate banking for one of the big banks.
How old are you, Adam?
I'm 26, turning 27 in a couple weeks.
Yikers, that's a lot of work history for a 26.
Yeah, a lot of good experience, and his targets: Harvard, Columbia, Wharton, Stanford, and Chicago Booth.
Yeah, as we were discussing in the pre-show here, I think, let me just go through these here. Harvard, maybe, Columbia, probably, Wharton, that's where you belong. Stanford, don't see it. Booth, maybe with good execution. Your problem is, from my point, 3.6, 750 for a white guy. The thing that may drag you down is just the work pedigree. So I'm saying, if you put a gun to my head and said, what's this guy's weakest, leg, I would say the work pedigree. The 3.6 is a little low. 750 is fine. University of Texas at Austin, a totally fine place to come from. Bank of America as a first gig is silver, not gold. And then KeyBank Capital Markets, and then Chera Energy Partners as a financial analyst. For white guys at Harvard, that's an interesting question. What do you think, John?
Well, I think the oil and gas and energy hook is a good one. Because I don't think that while there are a lot of people in finance who are applying the Harvard Business School, I don't know how many of them have oil and gas backgrounds or an interest in renewable energy. So I think
that's a great point. So Adam, what do you think about that? Presenting yourself as someone who's interested in being an innovator in energy.
I think that's a great point, and that's how I'm planning on framing my story. I think my current company, Terra, is pretty focused on ESG, and I think that's almost a good stepping stone to say that.
Well, for folks out there who don't know what ESG means, including me, what does that mean?
It's basically just like environmental and social impact.
Okay.
So being focused outside just strictly dollars and cents profitability, but also being involved in being more economic.
Okay, this is important. We went through this. It's a new company and a small company. They don't have a history of sending people to business school, right?
That's correct. That is correct.
What you need is a guy there who could write you a real powerful recommendation.
Well, he's got the CFO, right, Adam?
That's right. The CFO is a Wharton grad, and something I want him and my boss, the VP of Finance, to try to emphasize in their rec letters is that it's a small organization, it's very lean, and it's pretty flat. And I think in my role, I've been fortunate enough to have exposure to the C-suite executives in board meetings and acquisition discussions. And I think that's a fairly unique experience that I've had. That
something they could help you with is they could say, this guy really wants to go to Wharton. We've talked about it with him. He's visited. He'd make a perfect Wharton student. And I think the school, would do themselves, it would be a real great bet to admit this guy. He's going to be a very engaged student and a very engaged alum, just like us, okay? Wharton goes for that, because Wharton is always looking over his shoulders, like, is this guy really, are we number 2 here?
Right, I think it's a good point, and I remember hearing on one of y'all's videos about the essay is not really the time for you to brag. The recommendations and your
Right.
scores are the time for you to brag. And I think
Yeah, let someone else brag on your behalf.
right.
Yeah. What do you think? Yeah, good. Well, that's true. What do you think you should say?
I want the CFO from Wharton to say, this guy in any one of the classes that I attend at Wharton would be a superstar.
Okay. Yeah, and I think
Wow.
I've been talking to them about business school for the last 6 to 9 months, and they're both very supportive of it.
Oh, that's
So it's
good.
true, which
That's really
helps.
good.
It's true. It always helps. So I think I would try and focus on Wharton.
Okay.
You might get. I would also, throw one into HBS. You're a totally solid guy. You got a 3.6 and a 750. If you don't get into HBS, that would be the reason. That they just have guys they like more from firms that are feeder firms. Just that's the way I read it. Although I like you fine.
I understand, and that makes sense to me.
And also, there are plenty of white males who aren't sitting on a 750 GMAT or even a 3.6 GPA, and they're applying to Harvard. So you never know. With the oil and gas and energy thing, that could be very helpful because it just takes you out of the typical white male finance pool to some degree, and makes them look differently at you.
Yeah, and you are a real oil and gas guy. I mean, you've got a lot of history with that, and energy is something everybody respects, even admissions committees.
And it's something that is never going to go away. and there's going to be a lot of change in an industry. Already there is, and that's an exciting industry to be in, frankly.
Okay.
I agree. I think.
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
So what should he write about? What should
at Wharton, you should write about. Wharton allows you to actually talk about your goals. Strange to say. You should write about being an impactful energy investor. And here's the question I ask everybody else on these interviews, and no one else is able to answer it so far. Name 2 heroes. Name 2 people that are role models for you.
Sure. I think the one here that right off the bat is my grandpa. He was a war hero, was a colonel from Korea, Vietnam, grew up in the Great Depression with his family. His dad abandoned him, kind of raised his whole family.
Yeah, that's a good story. What I want here is something specific, role models in terms of an energy career.
Oh, an energy? Okay. Yeah, I have. There's some ideas percolating, but that's something
There
I
you
definitely
go.
have to think on.
John, my no-hit streak continues. Despite asking everybody this question, nobody ever does the research. It really helps in an essay to say, a role model for me is Joe Blow, who is, now the CEO of the XYZ Energy Corporation, and they've done great work in the Texas, Oklahoma area, both as being, successful investors and conservation-minded investors. You get it?
You Google the Atlantic, and they have a section on energy entrepreneurs.
Well, that's another tip.
Yeah, I mean, just
It's
go.
not hard to find people once someone else tells you to find them. Okay.
I like the fact that if you're going to have 2, it should be one guy in the industry, but also I don't like your grandfather. Don't you? Isn't that show a sensitive?
Yeah, that's fine. It's just not part of the protocol I was executing when I was going through it.
To position him as an energy innovator.
Right. Yeah. Your grandfather's fine, but we want some energy guys.
I understand that.
Yeah. Again, pushing you to this, keeping you out of the finance bucket as a white male and putting you more into the energy bucket. Right.
Okay, I see. Were you thinking about the leaders you admire in specific to the Wharton question, or Harvard? Because I know Columbia has a specific question.
Especially Harvard and Stanford.
Harvard and Wharton. It's a good way to present your goals. My goals are to be an impactful energy investor. See, that sounds like boilerplate. And then you go, I really admire guy 1 and guy 2. And guy 2 could be someone that nobody knows. He's just guy 2 is a guy at my firm who's done this and this, and he's kind of a role model to me, as is guy 1, who is sort of famous. So that's a good way to present your goals.
And what you're doing here is reinforcing your differentiation out of the typical white male finance pool. That's what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
That's great advice. Thanks.
I think let's get to the numbers here. I think your chances at Harvard, boy, white guy, 3.6, 750 energy. Boy, it might happen with really solid execution and great recs and a believable story. So I'm going to call your odds at Harvard like 30%, 30%. At Columbia, man.
Okay, that's 3 times the acceptance rate of 11. That's okay. That's good.
Well, the 750 gets them out of that.
Absolutely, that gets you noticed.
It gets you out of the general group of people storming the gates there. Okay, Columbia, man, you should get into Columbia. You got to show them the love. Do you have any connections? You should go visit. We always say this with Columbia.
Yeah, I went and visited and did the class visit and met with
Good.
students afterwards. That was a good experience.
Okay, when you execute the application there, tell them, man, I really want to go. I want to be in New York. You know, you had me at the class visit. Okay. Same thing with Wharton, Stanford. I don't think you're getting in. There's no X factor. It's just too small over there. Booth is kind of like Wharton. Yeah, Columbia, Wharton, and Booth. You should get into one of those.
So what do you think? 40+% at those schools? Maybe
Yes.
a little bit less at Wharton?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think your odds at Columbia are like 50% if you don't.
And you do have a real good shot at Harvard. I wouldn't just, I'd put some work into that.
Definitely. Okay, great.
So I'm saying you're going to get into at least 3 of these 5 schools.
Great. Okay.
Let us know how it all turns out. Sandy, thanks again. This is John Byrne with Poets and Quants. Thanks for watching.